that in mind, here's one final very PG-rated drug anecdote, and by PG-rated, I mean literally, my parents were there. In the summer of 2021, when much of this story is set, my parents, my brother, my sister and I, we were back together as a family for the first time in several months. We went away for the weekend. We were very excited. And my brother and sister and I, we decided to celebrate this by waiting till our parents had gone to bed on the Saturday night, and then dividing into thirds and sharing an edible cannabis gummy the size, shape, and texture of a Haribo bear. Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend. We were excited to see what mild-mannered adventures might be in store. We thought it'd be a bit of fun. Cannabis, of course, a friend to many of us, I'm sure, especially during those stressful lockdown months. As the saying goes, it helps with your anxieties, unless it doesn't. And that's the roller coaster we love to ride. Here was how this particular evening panned out. 9:30 p.m, parents went to bed. 9:40 p.m, subdivide the bear. Carving it up with a bread knife on the kitchen table. A real ceremony about the thing. 9:45, consume respective thirds of bear. 10:15 p.m, effects of bear start to take hold. 10:30 p.m, my father bursts from his marital bedroom to declare with real glee that mum's fallen asleep, he's had a second wind, and it's time to watch that documentary about the Eagles. Important to know that my father is a massive fan of the American rock band The Eagles. Important also to know that the rest of the family, not so fussed about the American rock band The Eagles, but he's been pushing for this documentary about them all weekend. He says it would be a nice thing to do as a family. The documentary is 3 hours long. We do not agree. We've been pushing back, saying things like, the weather's nice, we could go for a walk, or we could watch the Euros. Or at one point, my sister said, couldn't you just watch it on your own? And my dad replied, not again. And that's the man in 2 words. That's the adversary we're dealing with. We want to indulge our dad. He's a legend. He's a bit of a stress legend these days, and he enjoys reminiscing about the past, and that's when he's at his sweetest, reminiscing about the music he's enjoyed in his life and the people he's enjoyed it with. But we didn't want to watch this. And then, at 10:30 p.m. on the Saturday night, my father's persistence was rewarded because he'd caught his 3 children in a uniquely vulnerable position. Slumped lethargically on the sofa, baked to fuck like a lockdown sourdough. Far more pliable to his whims than he could possibly have dreamed of, and for reasons he couldn't claim to understand. So it was that we watched 2 hours of this Eagles documentary, and I don't mind telling you, it was one of the greatest nights of my year and maybe my life. I was so invested. We all were. I loved it. My brother loved it. My sister loved it. My dad, well, he knew he was going to love it. He wasn't quite ready for how much his children were going to enjoy it. He was expecting a bit more mid-doc resistance, rather than us snaffling up every detail of the Eagles' backstory like they were tangy cheese Doritos, which, to be fair, we were also snaffling up at a rate of knots. The clues were there. Sat upright on the sofa, non-ironically saying things like, cool, and wow. At one point, my brother asked my dad if he would pause the documentary so we could go to the loo. I have never seen my father smile so wide. A beam normally reserved for ambrosia rice pudding or his investment portfolio. He doesn't want to miss a second of the Hotel California writing and recording process. He's not made of stone, he's made of me. The following day, the siblings were talking about the success of this plan. And I said, what a great night. I said, I love the Eagles. And my brother said, no, you don't. You enjoyed the mood-altering chemicals that we consumed prior to the documentary. I said this was very cynical. Couldn't the 2 things be true simultaneously? Unfortunately, he won the argument that evening when we watched the 3rd hour of the documentary sober, and it was shit. You've got to know when to walk away. My father has since seen this show, and we've had a little chat.